20 crazy facts about Man on Fire you never knew. When you think of Man on Fire, you think of Creasy's cold-blooded path of revenge. Remember the line, "Creasy's art is death." He's about to paint his masterpiece.
Creasy's art is death. He's about to paint his masterpiece.
But the film you know and love is only half the story. It's a miracle it even happened. And it almost looked completely different. Behind the scenes, a terrifying, real-life kidnapping epidemic was sweeping Mexico City, making the film's backdrop feel almost too real. At the same time, director Tony Scott was running a chaotic visual experiment that pushed the boundaries of filmmaking. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 20 crazy facts you never knew about Man on Fire. Man on Fire was director Tony Scott's passion project for over 2 decades. He first tried to get it made way back in 1983, right between The Hunger and Top Gun. But at the time, studios thought he was too young to handle such a heavy story. The project was handed off to another director who made a version in 1987. It took 20 long years for Scott to finally get his chance to make the film his way. Denzel Washington wasn't the first choice for John Creasy, not even close. When the project took off in the early 2000s, the role was offered to Robert De Niro. Gene Hackman was also in the running. The studio had a very different kind of movie in mind. Spoiler alert, the plot is based on a series of much darker novels. John Creasy is a recurring character in 5 books by A.J. Quinnell. In the original novel, the young girl whose name is Pinta isn't rescued. She's found dead after being assaulted by her captors, which makes Creasy's rampage feel even more raw. The movie changed her name to Pita and created the ending where Creasy trades himself for her life. A Hollywood touch for a more cathartic, though still tragic, finish.
I'm going up on the bridge to get Peter. Anything goes wrong, you put it to his head. You pull the trigger, all right?
Man on Fire's setting was a last-minute change that made all the difference. Both the original novel and the previous 1987 movie were set in Italy, where the mafia's kidnapping for ransom schemes were a major issue in the 70s and 80s. But by the time Scott got the director's chair, he felt that setting the movie in Italy made it a period piece. He and the screenwriter moved the action to Mexico City, which had become the world's new kidnapping hotspot, making the film terrifyingly relevant. Man on Fire's shooting schedule was highly unusual. To make the bond between Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning feel as real as possible, Tony Scott chose to shoot many of their scenes in the order they appear in the script. This meant that in the early days of filming, Denzel intentionally kept his distance from Dakota, perfectly mirroring Creasy's cold, shut-down personality. Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning's authentic bond led to some brilliant improvisation. Because the actors were essentially living the story as it unfolded, their chemistry evolved naturally. Some of the most touching scenes between Creasy and Pita were actually unscripted. For instance, the scene where Pita catches Creasy cracking a smile while she does her homework, leading to their little game. That was all improvised by Denzel and Dakota.
You were smiling.
No,
You were.
no, I was not.
You're not now, but you were.
No, you were smiling. I wasn't
You
smiling.
were.
When?
Like 5 seconds ago.
Tony Scott ran his set like a mad scientist. He called his chaotic signature style Tony Vision. He used a wild mix of techniques to get the film's gritty, anxious feel, including multiple hand-cranked cameras to give certain shots a frantic, documentary-style energy. He'd also shoot at different frame rates, sometimes cranking it up to 100 frames per second, or slowing it down to 6 to visually mess with time and reflect Creasy's fractured mental state. The crew physically spun Denzel Washington on a rig to create disorientation. For the pivotal kidnapping scene, the crew needed a way to show Creasy's world being violently thrown off its axis. So what did they do? They built a special rig with Denzel on one end and the camera on the other and literally spun them around. The dizzying effect puts the audience right inside Creasy's panicked mind. The subtitles were treated as their own character. Scott didn't just want the subtitles to be simple translations. He wanted them to be part of the art. They flash, jitter, grow, and shrink, often pulsing on screen to the rhythm of the Spanish dialogue. This wasn't just for style points, it was designed to overwhelm the viewer, reflecting Creasy's own paranoia and his struggle to understand the foreign world closing in around him.
Came to get my stuff. Couldn't find my Bible. I thought it might be in here.
I borrowed it.
Man on Fire's premise was rooted in a very real crisis. The movie opens with the chilling on-screen text. There is one kidnapping every 60 minutes in Latin America. 70% of the victims do not survive. While that specific statistic is likely an exaggeration for dramatic effect, the crisis it pointed to was horrifyingly real. In the early 2000s, Mexico City was in the grip of a kidnapping epidemic, and the filmmakers consulted with city officials to ensure the film's world felt authentic. That infamous suppository bomb scene was inspired by dark realities.
C4, highly explosive. You put them all together, you got a bomb. That's what you have in your ass right now.
It's one of the most brutal and unforgettable moments in the film, but was it real? Well, not exactly. There's no documented proof of that specific method being used. It was more of a Hollywood embellishment, born from the filmmakers' research into the genuinely brutal tactics used by both criminals and anti-kidnapping units in Mexico. The production itself had to be a high-security operation. As you can imagine, filming in some of Mexico City's most dangerous neighborhoods wasn't easy. The cast and crew were often surrounded by heavy security. Denzel Washington later said that while the city's reputation was worse than the reality, you could never fully let your guard down. The threat was real, and the production had to navigate it carefully. We're past the halfway point in our list. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the genius behind Man on Fire, do us a solid and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more behind-the-scenes stories coming your way. Now back to the list. Dakota Fanning gave a performance that was stunningly mature for her age. Fanning was only 9 years old during filming, but she went toe-to-toe with Denzel and delivered a performance that earned her a Critics' Choice Award nomination. The legendary critic Roger Ebert wrote that she was a pro at only 10 years old. Her genuine, heartfelt performance is the emotional anchor that holds the entire film together. The author of the original book was initially thrown by Denzel's casting. A.J. Quinnell, who wrote the novels, admitted that when he first heard Denzel Washington, a black actor, had been cast as the white character he'd written, he was taken aback. However, after seeing the movie, he gave it his full support, praising Denzel's powerful performance for perfectly capturing Creasy's inner rage and humanity.
How do you think he got out?
I let him go.
It's better to be free, right?
It's better for him.
Tony Scott snuck in a cool nod to another gritty crime classic. The frantic, hyper-realistic visual style of Man on Fire was heavily influenced by the incredible 2002 Brazilian film City of God. As a direct tribute, Scott cast 2 actors from that movie, Jiro Camilo and Charles Paraventi, in small roles. It was his way of tipping his hat to a film that inspired his own masterpiece. Man on Fire is absolutely stacked with an incredible supporting cast. Seriously, beyond Denzel and Dakota, this film is a murderer's row of talent. You have Christopher Walken as Creasy's only ally, the great Giancarlo Giannini as the determined investigator, Mickey Rourke as a sleazy lawyer, and even Marc Anthony as Peeta's desperate father. Every single one of them helps elevate the film beyond a simple revenge story. Spoiler alert! Man on Fire had a wild alternate ending that was completely scrapped. In an ending that was scripted and storyboarded, Creasy doesn't die on the bridge. Instead, he's taken to The Voice, the mastermind of the kidnapping ring. As they face off, a watch that Creasy had armed earlier starts beeping and detonates, just like the suppository bomb killing them both. Ultimately, the filmmakers felt that ending was too clean, and they opted for the more emotional, poetic conclusion we all know.
¿Quién es este?
Daniel.
¿Daniel qué?
Daniel Rosa Sánchez.
Despite being a cult classic now, critics at the time were sharply divided. When it first came out, Man on Fire got pretty mixed reviews, landing a rotten score of just 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. Many critics found the violence too grim and the visual style too aggressive. Audiences, however, felt completely different, giving the film an A- cinema score and turning it into a runaway hit. Man on Fire became a massive financial success. Made on a budget of around $70 million, Man on Fire pulled in over $130 million at the worldwide box office. But the story doesn't end there. It became a juggernaut on DVD, proving that despite what some critics thought, audiences were absolutely hooked by its unique blend of brutal action and heart-wrenching drama. Tony Scott said Creasy was the sheep that got found. For the director, this was never just a revenge flick. He saw John Creasy as a lost soul who had completely given up on life. Through his bond with Peeta, he finds a reason to live again, a purpose. In Scott's eyes, Creasy's journey was a spiritual one. He was the lost sheep who is finally found, only to sacrifice himself to save the one pure thing in his world. It's that emotional depth that has made Man on Fire a timeless classic. From a project stuck in development hell for 20 years to its frantic, experimental style and its roots in a real-world crisis, Man on Fire is so much more than just an action movie. It's a testament to a director's unwavering vision and the incredible chemistry between two phenomenal actors. What's your favorite fact from this list? Did any of these surprise you? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.